Alright, hey guys, Pax here, welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. In this video, I'm going to be ranking all 18 Eeveelution cards currently in the game. I'm going to be ranking it from S tier, which is pretty much Pokemon cards that are very prominent in the meta currently, and will most likely see high meta prominence for the months to come, all the way down to D tier, which is pretty much useless, pretty much unrunnable. And keep in mind, this is my tier list, so if you guys agree, leave a like and subscribe, and if you disagree, also leave a like and subscribe, but also tell me in the comments why you disagree. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the first card we're going to be going over is Flareon right here. Flareon from Genetic Apex, an oldie, a very old EV card. And yeah, when this guy first came out, I saw him several times in PvP. Keep in mind, this is right when the game came out, so people were still trying to like find the meta. But yeah, this guy is essentially kind of like a budget, in a sense, a budget Charizard EX, because yeah, this guy is somewhat similar. So Flamethrower, 110 damage, requires 3 energy, and after attacking, discard a fire energy, 120 HP. And again, I mean, most people already know, but the Charizard EX from Genetic Apex, this guy very similar, has slash, and yeah, does a lot more damage. I feel like it's kind of insulting to call this a budget Charizard EX, but essentially it's really how it was, because back in the day, if you want to make a very top tier fire deck, you want to at least run Moltres. And if you do that, I mean, you might as well run Charizard as well, because yeah, Moltres can get this guy fed a lot. However, it is Moltres EX. I mean, if you ever ran that card, yeah, there's chances, it's all RNG. There have been times I would get like 9 tails in a row. I do have a YouTube short on my channel where that did happen to me, and there's a lot of times where that bird is more useful in your belly rather than on the field. Even nowadays, I feel like you might see some prominence with this in lower to mid tier ranks, mostly low tier in my opinion. I feel like, yeah, you can still see some usage with this. I mean, he does hit pretty hard, and depending on what your opponent has, I mean, that could do some crucial damage. If you go against Buzzwole EX, this guy does 130, base 130 damage, and if you want to pair EV Bag, instant one-shot without any Poké-Tools equipped. And because of that, I'm going to be ranking this C tier, because it's okay. It's okay, I mean, it's not the worst. Like, you could still definitely run it, but there's definitely better alternatives. And okay, next card is, ooh, yes, LEAFEON. This LEAFEON right here from A2, Spacetime Smackdown. Yes, this guy is pretty fun. He's seen a meta resurgence primarily because of another LEAFEON card. We'll get there when we get there, but yeah, Leafy Cyclone, 90 damage. However, during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. HP 90, so essentially somewhat of a glass cannon. But this guy can cook. Paired with EV Bag, he does 100 damage. And if you pair 2 EV Bags plus a red, if you're going against an EX Pokemon, he's doing 130 damage, 150 with type advantage. So this guy is something that your opponent shouldn't underestimate his power, because this guy really can cook. And he is pretty fun, again, paired with LEAFEON EX, but we'll get there. Overall, as it is, what makes this card amazing is LEAFEON EX, but I do want to treat this kind of like a standalone card. And overall, I mean, the damage is insane. However, the huge drawback, making so that you can't attack next turn, could hinder you, unless your opponent is stupid and Sabrina's. Like, if your opponent is Sabrina's, like, towards the mid to early game, and yeah, you did attack, that's like, yeah, that's a beginner's mistake. But overall, I mean, he only requires 2 energy, so you can definitely see some viability running this guy without LEAFEON EX in, yeah, again, lower slash mid tier ranks. High tier ranks, I mean, I feel like this guy is relatively slow. There are definitely better cards you can invest in, especially depending on your matchup, because like, imagine you're going against Silvally. Sure, this guy can one-shot Silvally with 2 EV Bags. However, I mean, yeah, it's Silvally. Silvally can get built up fairly fast, and after attacking once, this guy's basically useless for a turn, whereas Silvally, I mean, as long as your opponent keeps on drawing trainer cards, then supporter cards, then he can do consistent 100 damage, and just one-shotting this guy. So yeah, with that being said, pretty good, pretty decent, solid, but I'll give it the ranking of B tier. Next card, GLACEON EX. This card, yeah, kind of dead on arrival in my opinion. Like, I don't really see anybody play this card, which kind of sucks because they could have easily made this a lot better. So GLACEON EX, ability Snowy Terrain. During Pokemon checkup, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, do 10 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And attack right here, Freezing Wind, 90 damage, requires 3 energy, HP 140. Yeah, so you could theoretically do 100 damage with this guy if he pairs attack with his ability. However, yeah, I mean, the main drawback is that this Pokemon has to be in the active spot. If his ability was just this, during Pokemon checkup, do 10 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, that would be huge. But instead, it has to be in the active, which, I mean, yeah, it really does kind of suck. And not to mention, keep in mind the weakness is metal. Sluglair is still very prominent, and with that being said, that card can definitely just one-shot this guy. So you pretty much, if you want to run this guy, you might as well run a Giant Cape as well. But overall, as a Water EX, easily replaceable. And again, Like, in my opinion, it was kind of dead in arrival. Like, I saw it a couple times in PvP, but yeah, not many people ran this card. So with that being said, I'm gonna rank this in C tier because it is still somewhat usable. Like, you can probably see some usage in lower to mid tier ranks. I mean, it is a water card, so theoretically you could just win your second turn. Like, let's say you go first, you evolve your second turn, Misty this guy, freezing wind, 100 damage. Yeah, so yeah, it really depends on RNG, but that being said, C tier. Next card, Jolteon. This is the new Jolteon, I believe. All right, yeah, we got the new Jolteon from EEVEE Grove. Has an attack beginning bolt, 40 damage plus 20 more damage if this Pokemon was evolved during this turn. In my opinion, very similar to Zeraora in a sense where like his first turn is where like he's the most advantageous. Because looking at Zeraora right here, at the end of your first turn, take a lightning energy from your energy zone, attach it to this Pokemon. Pretty good, especially if you go first. And then looking at Jolteon right here, he's only doing 60 damage the turn in which he evolved. And with that being said, I mean, it's good, I guess, for like this easy chip damage, like this like burst damage in a sense. But in my opinion, in the long run, it doesn't really matter because in 2 turns, you're still doing 100 damage. So your first turn you do 60 damage, next turn you do only 40. And if you look at something like Zeraora, in my opinion, is more consistent because first turn doing 50 damage, next turn 50 damage. Same thing, but this guy gets a free energy. And not to mention, just comparing it to Zeraora, you don't even have to attack with this guy because that free energy that you gain, you could use that later on, like to pair it with Dawn and potentially feed your active electric Pokemon or any Pokemon you have. So it is pretty good with that. Like it has like there are multiple ways to use that card effectively. However, with Jolteon, just yeah, 60 damage. Cool first turn. Every other turn, I mean, it's just chip damage and still relatively frail. I'm gonna rank it C tier. Yeah, I mean, it's good again. It's decent, but it's I feel like C tier is basically mid. And then B tier is like a little bit better. Like you can see a little bit more usage and more potential. A tier is like very meta currently. And then yeah, just to reiterate, S tier is like very meta currently, as well as going to be super meta for the foreseeable future. So like just keep in mind, like S tier, I'm kind of making it, I reserve it for basically like Darkrai and Giratina level cards. Like you're going to see it several months from now. So yeah, with that being said, next card. Ooh, okay, so we got Flareon. This is a Flareon that came out recently as well. This Flareon right here, assisting heater, 40 damage, and after attacking, take a fire energy from energy zone and attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. HP of 110. I feel like this guy is pretty nice, has some good potential because yeah, you are basically doing some chip damage, and on top of that, because this guy's essentially a better Pachirisu in my opinion. Because looking at Pachirisu, the non-EX version right here, you do 10 damage, and then after that, take a lightning energy from energy zone, attach it to one of your bench lightning Pokemon. So yeah, looking at Flareon, it kind of makes sense because he is a stage 1. He does more damage, and it does the same thing for fire. So nice support. In my opinion, this guy has pretty good synergy with Flareon EX. I did make a deck showcase. I do highly suggest checking that out. But Flareon EX, we'll get to it eventually. But this guy is great because he is giving fire energy to that Flareon after attacking. So instead of using the ability, which with Flareon EX, his ability, you do take, if you use it, you do take 20 damage of recoil. There are lots of scenarios where you don't want to do that, and it could end up losing you the game. So with that being said, attaching fire energy to that Pokemon does help out in the long run. In a sense, the Moltres equivalent to Charizard EX. This non-EX Flareon is Moltres, whereas the Flareon EX is Charizard EX. But yeah, with that being said, I am ranking this B tier. Because yeah, currently in the meta, it is pretty usable. Like you might see some usability with this. You could also pair this with Incineroar EX and just feed Incineroar EX in your bench. So yeah, a lot of synergy and pretty fun overall to run. Next card, oh yes, LEAFEON EX. The king has returned. This card used to be super meta when it first came out, and then it kind of fell off. I remember back in the day, yeah, there was a lot of LEAFEON EXs and Celebi decks. Very fun, and overall this guy's ability is pretty nice. I really do like this guy's ability. But yeah, so his ability, Forest Breath, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may take a grass energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your grass Pokemon. Pretty good, amazing support, and you can just keep on doing this every turn, so it feels very nice. And attack Solar Beam, 70 damage. This is pretty good too, the ability, because it applies to himself as well. So if you go second, you feed your Eevee an energy, and then next turn you evolve, feed LEAFEON an energy, and then feed him another one because of his ability right here. So your second turn, this guy can just attack. So very fast paced, very nice. Not to mention, as I stated earlier, this guy has amazing synergy with this LEAFEON as well, because there is a combo. Might as well, I made a deck showcase for the LEAFEON / Flareon / Sylveon deck, and I'll leave it in the description. Also, forgot to mention this, but I'm using the website Pokemon Zone. That will also be in the description below. Really do suggest checking this website out. But yeah, the deck is very fun. Like, hands down, one of the most fun decks in a while. Requires a lot of thinking, but there is a combo. If you go first, I'll just pull up the clip right here and just see for yourself. Oh yes, this is very good. So we are at an amazing position. This is the ideal setup you want here. Okay, just might as well evolve everybody. Evolving Flareon next turn. But for now, keep in mind, you want to evolve Leafeon first. I feel like a lot of people might make that mistake because if you use Forest Breath and you didn't evolve into Leafeon yet, it only applies to grass type Pokemon. So we just do that, X speed, retreat, and then this Leafeon's out, completely shutting him down. This is pretty good. So yeah, enough said. Like, I feel like depending on your opponent, like, yeah, they might just give up at that point, because doing that can just mess up your opponent a lot. If you can get a setup like that your second turn, like when going first, yeah, that completely just shuts them down. And yeah, as you can see, a lot of potential, very fun. And with that being said, I am ranking this card A tier, because I mean, yeah, when it comes to S tier, like, it could be S tier, but in my opinion, it's not very guaranteed. It's not really guaranteed that it'll be that meta relevant in the future. If anything, it might pop up like months later, but I wouldn't be surprised if after this meta, after the whole Eevee Grove hype, this card goes back to the vault. And yeah, still overall very fun. I just really do like that ability. The ability feels so nice. And yeah, A tier. Next card, Espeon, our first Espeon in the game. So yeah, Espeon has an attack Energy Crush, does 20 damage. This card has an attack called Energy Crush, and this attack does 20 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So it really depends on what your opponent's playing, how many energy they have, because I mean, it's somewhat unlikely. In my opinion, you might see this more in like lower to mid tier ranks, but your opponent can very much run Serena. And this Serena right here only requires 1 energy. And so yeah, if your opponent's playing 2 Serenas, then you might just be doing 40 damage overall, because it only requires 2 energy in total. So with that being said, I mean, this Espeon could be doing little damage, but then again, I mean, when it comes to just chip damage, I feel like this does kind of work. You can very much, like, you just 2 ways to play this. You either play Espeon early game, like imagine early game, if your opponent's playing, let's say like Charizard EX from Shining Revelry, after your opponent uses Stoke, this guy does 80 damage. So some decent damage towards that Charizard EX that could help you out in the long run. But then again, in my opinion, overall, this card is relatively scary to use. Has a lot of potential, yeah, don't get me wrong, but again, it really depends on your opponent's energy. And if they're smart, they might try to counter this card by not placing too much energy on the field, and that could very much win them the game and lose you the game. So with that being said, it has a lot of potential, but it's very variable. It's pretty scary, in my opinion, very unstable to use. With that being said, B tier, because yeah, again, a lot of potential. Next card is Umbreon. Look at this. Look at that art, man. That guy, interesting perspective, but yeah, this card has the attack Dark Binding, does 40 damage, and if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. In my opinion, this card is very similar to Glaceon EX in a sense that they both suffer because of a couple words in their attack effect. Because yeah, as you can see, it only affects basic Pokemon. And sure, yeah, Giratina and Darkrai are still relatively meta. So when going up against them, you can really mess up your opponent if you do use Dark Binding against those cards, especially when they're about to attack. But with that being said, I mean, another very prominent basic EX Pokemon is Buzzwole EX right here. And looking at his ability, looking at his second attack, after attacking, this Pokemon can't use Big Beat. So he can't use his attack after attacking. But if you know Buzzwole EX at all, you could pair this card with Celesteela to easily bypass this effect right here. That kind of negates Umbreon's overall gimmick with this. And yeah, keep in mind, also weak to grass. So it's gonna be a nightmare going up against freaking Buzzwole. But yeah, just take away, okay, yeah, take away this portion. Like if the defending Pokemon, like just take away this portion, just like reword this and say something like, after attacking, the defending Pokemon can't attack during the next turn. Because I feel like it'll make it a lot better, because it will kind of like encompass a bigger scope of Pokemon. So it could mess up like Silvally, stage 1 and stage 2 cards. With that being said, yeah, this guy would be a lot more meta relevant, but currently, I mean, it is Darkness, and it's kind of an outlier when it comes to evolutions in general, because I feel like a lot of evolutions have a little bit of synergy with each other, just like a little bit. But with that being said, I mean, with that being said, of course, this guy's the only Darkness Eevee so far. I mean, they definitely can make an Umbreon EX later in the future, but currently, I mean, this guy, decent damage, HP 110, so it can still get one-shotted by cards like Silvally. This guy can still win you the game, don't get me wrong. Like, he could be, depending on your matchup, again, if you're going against like Darkrai and Giratina towards the late game, if you play this guy, it might hinder your opponent a lot. Because keep in mind, like, let's say like your opponent only has like Darkrai or Giratina, that's the only Pokemon they have on their field. you can just keep on spamming this and your opponent can't do anything. But at that point, you might as well just like probably just honestly just run like Oricorio. Just like run a lightning deck with Oricorio, because that card is still a nightmare in the meta. But yeah, with that being said, this card, B tier. A lot of potential, but again, not that great. And next card we have is Glaceon. Oh gosh, I hate this card with a passion. I'll be honest, this is my second time recording this video, and I totally forgot about this card. I kind of forgot this card existed. It did come out very recently. But yeah, Glaceon. This Glaceon has 100 HP, attack Ice Blade, and this attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So pretty good. Essentially, in a sense, very similar to the first attack of Garchomp EX. Linear attack, 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. However, this card, yeah, it's stage 1 and does require 2 energy. So yeah, pretty good. I mean, it could very much win you the game. It does have a bit of potential, but at the same time, there are far better cards. Like in my opinion, I feel like Greninja is a lot better. Like if you want to invest in a good like chip card that targets the bench when it comes to water type, Greninja. I mean, he is the GOAT. This guy, he came out in Genetic Apex and he's still meta relevant to this day. Holy crap. Yeah, if you guys don't know somehow, ability Water Shuriken, once during your turn, you may do 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Less damage, but you can use this in your bench. Whereas for this card, since it's an attack, you can only use it if this card is in the active, which is a pretty big liability. And yeah, in my opinion, I mean, this card could be a lot better if this guy hasn't existed since the game came out. So, yeah, with that being said, C tier. Potential is there, like it could win you the game, but really any card can. And given that, I mean, in my opinion, there are far better water cards to invest in aside from this card. So yeah, C tier. Next card, ooh gosh, Vaporeon. Another old card. This Vaporeon came out in Genetic Apex. Attack Bubble Drain, does 60 damage, heal 30 damage from this Pokemon, 3 energy, 130 HP, D tier. The first D tier card in this tier list because in my opinion, it's pretty bad. Like Bubble Drain 60 damage for 3 energy is already pretty abysmal, especially for stage 1. And yeah, granted he does heal 30 damage, so you could potentially in a turn probably heal. In a turn you could heal around 70 damage if you pair this with Irida. More likely than not, this guy's probably gonna get 1 to 2 shotted either in mid to late game. In late game, most likely just 1-shotted, but mid game, probably just 2-shotted. And again, in my opinion, there are far better water type cards to invest in. Like just looking at this, requires 3 energy, does 60 damage. And yeah, given what I said, healing 30 doesn't really do that much. And looking at a somewhat similar card, we have Origin from Palkia right here. So it's a little bit less HP. However, this card has bigger potential because it could potentially do 120 damage. Granted, it is a coin flip, but yeah, that 120 damage is still a lot for this card right here. Also, it's a basic non-EX, so you don't really have to worry about getting stage 1 out. And yeah, this guy used to be insane in the meta. Like this guy paired with Gyarados as well as Manaphy, that was huge. That was extremely fun. That was during the golden age of ranked. And I mean, we probably are still in the golden age, given the state of the game right now, but yeah, with that being said, in my opinion, this card has a lot more potential. If anything, I would rank this card, if like I would include this in this tier list, probably B tier because of that plus 60 damage. Whereas this guy, 60 damage, kind of useless. And yeah, with that being said, pretty outdated overall. So D tier. Next card, jumping up a little bit of ranks. So Flareon EX is the next card. And this is, I'm just gonna put it right now. This is an A tier card. Very fun. This card in the meta currently is very prominent, and rightfully so. So he has an ability called Combust. Once during your turn, you may attach a fire energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. If you do 20 damage to this Pokemon. This is pretty good, but keep in mind, it is kind of dependent on your discarded energy. So you do want to play this guy either mid to late tier ranks after your opponent knocks out your active Pokemon that has at least 1 fire energy attached to it. Or towards the middle of the battle, let's say your active Pokemon has at least 1 fire energy attached to it. This guy's in your bench chilling with 1 fire energy as well. Possible you could retreat with your active, and then retreating discards that fire energy. So you switch that Pokemon out with your Flareon EX. Flareon EX does Combust, and then you feed Flareon with the fire energy you get every turn. And yeah, he's instantly built like that. But keep in mind, he does take 20 damage recoil, so that could very much hinder you. But to counteract that, they did add a supporter card, EEVEE Bag, which is pretty good. Like, it's very nice because it can be both offensive as well as defensive, healing 20 damage. So yeah, once you combust, you can just heal 20 damage. And keep in mind, you can do combust in your bench. So let's say like you do want to use combust in your bench, you would do that, and that card will now be a liability unless you EEVEE Bag. Because if this card takes 20 damage in your bench and you don't heal, next turn your opponent can Cyrus and just mess you up overall. So yeah, EEVEE Bag and just healing items in general really do come in clutch. And yeah, with that being said, talking a lot about his ability, but Fire Spin, 130 damage. The main downside is that you do discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. So yeah, this guy has potential to cook, literally cook. But keep in mind, Combust could be very much your undoing. Like, you're gonna run into scenarios where this Pokemon towards the late game, after getting attacked, is down to like 20 damage or 30 damage, and your opponent has like either a Rocky Helmet or a Poison Barb on their Pokemon. And yeah, with that being said, if you don't have an EV bag or any heal items, using Combust will kill you. It will kill this Pokemon. He'll just have a little heart attack, and it's pretty sad to see. But yeah, with that being said, I mean, Fire Spin is still pretty huge. I feel like having that recall damage is a good way to kind of balance this card, because 130 base damage is pretty nice. However, keep in mind, you could pair this with red as well as EV bags and type advantage as well. So you could be doing, against Buzzwole EX, if you use all those cards, you're doing 190 damage. One-shotting Buzzwole EX even with Leaf Cape. So yeah, a lot of fun altogether. With that being said, yeah, A tier, very nice, but I wouldn't be surprised if this card gets replaced with a better fire card in the near future. Pretty unfortunate, but that's how the game goes. Next card is another Leafeon. This card has attack Leaf Blast, does 10 damage plus 20 more damage for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. So you do, in a sense, want to get this guy pretty much fed. Either that or pair him with Superior. I mean, you can very much make a deck. This guy hasn't been meta relevant in a long time, but Superior makes it so this guy's ability basically doubles your grass energy. So if you attach 2 energy to this Leafeon, with the Superior buff, he actually has 4 energy. With 1 energy, he has 2 energy. 4 energy, he has 8 energy, and so on and so forth. So yeah, pretty good. But in my opinion, I mean, he is pretty frail, and in my opinion, the build-up isn't really worth it if you want to play this guy towards the late game. I feel like towards the early game, he might see more viability, but again, I mean, not really that good in my opinion. Because again, keep in mind, if you attach 5 energy to this guy, you're doing 110 damage. Yeah, 110 damage for 5 energy, which it's not that good in my opinion. And if you're building this guy up with 5 energy, then you're most likely playing him in your bench, like just passively in your bench building up energy, because there's no way this guy will be like in your active spot and just like survive until he gets 5 energy. Because yeah, 90 HP, even with a Superior buff, I feel like this guy will most likely die by then. But yeah, overall, not that great in my opinion. Does have a little bit potential, but still, I mean, he is runnable. Like, he is somewhat runnable, sure, I guess. So with that being said, I will keep it at C tier. But it's in the middle, in my opinion, for at least in my head, from C tier and D tier. It's like, might as well give him a C just to round it up. And yeah, that's Leafeon. Next card, Jolteon. Oh yes, this card is pretty nostalgic. It feels weird calling this card nostalgic because, I mean, this game hasn't been out for that long. Like, it's been barely a year, but in my opinion, it feels a lot longer. But yeah, this card, Jolteon, came from Genetic Apex. Back in the day, I used to run this guy all the time. This guy was very fun. A lot of RNG, but he can cook. 4 coins. His attack does 40 damage for each heads. If you get 4 heads, this guy can do 160 damage, which is pretty huge. On the flip side, no pun intended, if you get 4 tails, this guy does jack shit. He does 0 damage, which is pretty unfortunate. But overall, back in the day, it was a lot of fun. This guy, I had a deck where I paired this guy with Zapdos EX as well as Pikachu EX, and it was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Pikachu EX, still one of the most fun decks. Back in the early days, very easy to use. And yeah, but currently in the meta, yeah, this guy isn't really that reliable. I mean, it is a coin flip card, so already that's already kind of like a red flag. So yeah, high potential, but in my opinion, this card isn't really that reliable because again, you could either be doing like 0 damage or 40 damage. But then again, 160 damage, 120 damage, ultimately up to RNG, but in my opinion, the risk isn't really that worth it because again, keep in mind, HP 90, so it is relatively frail. And with that being said, I am ranking this, biased aside, C tier. Because yeah, it's still, you can still see some usage, especially like probably lower to mid-tier rank, but still there are probably better alternatives out there. Like again, Zeraora is probably going to be more consistent compared to this guy. But yeah, next card, oh yes, A tier. Next card is Vaporeon. This Vaporeon from Mythical Island, yes, this card is pretty nice. So it has an ability Washout. That's the main draw for this card, the ability Washout. So as often as you like during your turn, you may move a water energy from one of your bench water Pokemon to your active Pokemon. Now, if you remember when this guy first came out, this guy was a menace. This is literally the energy bank. He was the energy bank, a huge MVP because that ability is huge. Even to this day, I feel like this ability is pretty good. Like, put this guy in A tier because you can still see some usage with him. However, he isn't really that meta currently, but I wouldn't be surprised if this guy becomes meta in the near future. Like, just looking at this, I mean, LEAFEON EX wasn't really that meta. This guy could instantly be back in the meta if they release a good water card. Because, I mean, currently there aren't really that good, any good water cards. I mean, Primarina is okay. Like, I probably will make a deck showcase of her soon. But there hasn't been any water cards that are like Gyarados level or like even Palkia level of broken in the meta. Because, yeah, back in the day, Articuno and Gyarados, that was a huge combo. Like, because looking at this, Articuno's attack Blizzard, yeah, pretty good damage, but this requires a lot of energy. However, once your Articuno is about to be knocked out, sub in Gyarados, and then because of Vaporeon, just feed Gyarados all that energy. All the energy that Articuno has acquired, feed it all to Gyarados, and Gyarados is built. More likely than not, Gyarados will be fully built, and it's just GG for your opponent. Your opponent really can't do anything. Again, once Water type comes back into the meta, I can very much see Vaporeon being somewhat meta relevant, but honestly, bias aside, I'll bump it down to B tier because I mean currently in the meta it isn't really that great. But again, very high potential, very high potential next month. But we shall see. Hopefully, I'm really hoping once they get to Gen 2, they better make Feraligatr EX overpowered. Like, yeah, that's a must, man. As a huge Feraligatr enjoyer, I'm very much anticipating that. But yeah, next card, oh yes, Sylveon EX. This card, yeah, already instantly S tier because this card is amazing. This card so much changed the meta. It's being run in a lot of decks, and rightfully so because of his ability Happy Ribbon. So once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may draw 2 cards. This is insane because you can pair it with Professor's Research. So in a turn, you could potentially draw 5 cards. So the card that you draw during the start of your turn, 2 cards from Sylveon EX, and then 2 cards from Professor's Research. Yeah, that's pretty huge. Fairy Wind, 70 damage. All right. The only downside is that this card can get one-shotted by Solgaleo, but I feel like Solgaleo is slowly getting phased out the meta, so we shall see. But yeah, with that being said, given the ability, a lot of people are running this kind of like Giratina. Where like, with Giratina, I mean, when you look at that card, you could essentially run that in any deck because it gains passive energy with its ability right here. And with Sylveon, this guy doesn't really have to attack to be useful because drawing 2 cards, outdrawing your opponent and getting all the cards that you need, so this guy could help you out in the long run. The main downside is Mars and Red. So this might be a cause and effect status, so the cause, Sylveon being in the meta, could affect the meta overall, making it so that Mars and Red card will be a lot more used. Because if your opponent draws 5 cards in a turn, you're gonna want to Red card or Mars. Like, again, mentioning my Flareon / LEAFEON / Sylveon EX deck showcase. In that deck, this guy doesn't attack whatsoever. Again, you're primarily using him for his ability, and that ability comes in clutch. So with that being said, definitely S tier. I can very much see this card being very meta in the future, and if not, a must run for Psychic type overall. And yeah, next card we have another Glaceon from Spacetime Smackdown. HP 90, attack Ice Beam, the 60 damage, flip a coin if heads. Your opponent's active is now paralyzed. Yeah, so another coin flip card. Damage is okay, I guess. I mean, you could see a bit of potential with this guy, especially with Misty, because I mean, for Misty, if you go your second turn, all you really need is 1 heads and then your free energy to feed this guy. So yeah, this guy could be, so you could see a lot of potential with this guy, but again, it's pretty risky because you can very much just keep on stunning your opponent's Pokemon. Like, it is a coin flip card, so you could get tails 5 turns in a row, and inversely you can get tails, and inversely you can get heads 5 times in a row as well. This is gonna rank it also C tier paired with the other Glaceon as well. This is kind of sad for all Glaceon enjoyers. Like, just looking at this, all C tier, not really that great. But yeah, this video is pretty long. I'm gonna try to speed it up a little bit. Next card we have is, oh, okay, Vaporeon. Next card is another Vaporeon. Came out EV Grove, attack Hyper Whirlpool, 70 damage, flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So very similar to Guzwald, as well as, of course, Team Rocket Grunt. That's essentially what his attack effect is. HP 120, somewhat tanky. So yeah, pretty decent. This guy is, in a sense, a replacement for Origin Form Palkia, because yeah, granted he's not doing potentially 120 damage. However, that coin flip, this coin flip could win you the game. Because imagine you're going against Charizard EX. Your opponent has 5 energy, just use Stoke, and is like prepping to attack next turn. You use his attack, and you get like what, 2, 3 tails? Your opponent has to use Stoke again. Next turn, let's say you get 5 heads, especially towards the mid to late game, and even an early game could very much be a nuisance. And with that being said, I am ranking this B tier because there's a lot of potential, but again, a coin flip card, so you could get this tails each time you use this. And last but not least, Sylveon, non-EX Sylveon, not this guy right here. So attack Evo Harmony, 40 damage plus 30 more damage for each evolution Pokemon on your bench. This is pretty good because it doesn't, like, they could have easily made it that it applied only to EVs, but it's an evolution Pokemon. So yeah, I can very much see this guy being run in a lot of decks in the future. But in my opinion, the damage isn't really that great because overall max damage without any trainer cards, you're only doing 130 damage. So 40 plus 30 times 3, 130 damage. And if you only have 2 evolutions, then 100, and only 1 evolution, 70 damage. And of course you want to play this guy kind of towards the mid to late game. And overall that damage output, I very much think that this card definitely could probably get replaced with a probably more broken card. Because keep in mind, I mean, looking at Silvally is also a non-EX. He only does 100 damage, but his requirement is a lot easier to meet. And again, before Silvally, there was Lycanroc. And if you guys don't know Lycanroc, this one is pretty much Silvally, but a lot worse. Like for one thing, it's not colorless, and for another, your opponent's active Pokemon has to have more HP than this Pokemon. So there's gonna be a lot of scenarios where this guy can't do 100 damage, whereas for Silvally, a lot more consistent, especially since you can easily use supporter cards throughout the game. And keep in mind, this guy came out in Celestial Guardians. Yeah. Next pack, the pack after that, Silvally came out. So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if this card gets easily replaced and power crept next booster set. But yeah, we shall see. Overall, I'd rank it probably C tier. Pretty good, but I mean, the damage output, nothing really that great in my opinion, especially with the requirements, because again, if you're playing this card late game, there's a high likelihood that you won't be able to do 130 damage. If anything, either 100 or even 70. But yeah, that's my tier list right here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, if you agree, like and subscribe. Disagree, like and subscribe. And just tell me in the comments why you disagree. But yeah, that's the video. And hope you guys enjoyed. Pretty long, but yeah, just like there's a lot of EV cards here. And I feel like this is the best time to do an EV tier list because I mean, yeah, this whole month is basically EV themed. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want more. And as a small time content creator, it really does help me out if you like and subscribe. But yeah, it's pretty much the video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.